Growing rape culture in schools is clear to see on the website Everyone's Invited, with more than 50,000 heartbreaking accounts of kids sexually assaulting one another. Porn is now cited in 60% of divorces. Meanwhile, the biggest free site, Pornhub, had to delete 80% of its videos in 2020 because they were of child abuse or rape. Over 10 million videos taken down within days of that investigation. Every click feeds a multi-billion-dollar industry of trafficking, grooming, rape, revenge porn and abuse, while Pornhub alone attracts over 42 billion visits a year. Well, today, the UK government claims it's leading the world in online safety by introducing age verification. Oh, do get on. France and Germany announced that years ago. But is the issue simply who is watching? A study by American academics found that 88% of pornography now contains violence against women, gagging, slapping, spitting, hair pulling, forceful penetration and unnatural acts. A third of men under 40 now suffer erectile dysfunction, compared to just 2% 2 decades ago. Oh yes, children should not see extreme content. But my question is, should it even exist at all? Well, joining me now on the show is adult film entertainer Brooklyn Blue and Executive Director of the Age Verification Providers Association, Ian Corby. Ian, I'm going to start with you because a big government announcement today is porn websites must have age verification to stop children accessing adult content. Already there's a crowd of people going, it'll never work, why bother? What's your response?
Well, it certainly works. I mean, first of all, we're already doing thousands of age checks every hour of every day for people who are buying alcohol online or perhaps going to gamble online instead. So age checking in itself is already part of our day-to-day life. But as more and more of our life is going online and we're looking at things like the metaverse, as they describe it, it seems only right that we get it sorted now such that the norms of society about what we allow our kids to do are going to be represented online as well as in the real world. You wouldn't let people kids walk around Soho, walking into casinos and betting shops and strip joints without them being stopped at the door. And effectively, that's what we now need to do online. And so we're very pleased the government's made this announcement. It's been a long time coming, as I'm sure you know, Alex.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Brooklyn, it's lovely having you back on the show again. I tweeted about this earlier, fairly sort of strident remarks. And a lot of people said, why don't you ask porn actresses what it's like? They love their job. This is great. All this content's fine. What's your position when it comes to these sort of online free, big porn giants who allow user-generated content? Do you think it needs regulation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the porn industry in itself has had debates with the free sites for years and years and years. I mean, we don't like the free sites. That number one, they stole from our revenue, and then on top of that, it's just so it's unrestricted. There's no sort of rules to it, or there's no sort of laws with it. Obviously, within our industry, it's very on. You have to prove everything, and you have to have IDs, and everything's verified. And the free sites, obviously, it's kind of a free for all. And we've always, said that there should be age verification, and I think it's brilliant that they're finally doing that because it does need to be done. I mean, it's become more accessible, and it does need to have some sort of regimen with it, where it is, stopping the vulnerable getting onto these sites when they shouldn't be on there. There is an age limit to it for a reason, and if they're bringing in a law that will guarantee that people that are looking at that kind of thing are over age, then we're absolutely all for that. But it has to be the free sites and the paid sites. It can't just be one or the other, or it would never work.
I'm going to come back to you, Ian, because one of the proposals for age verification checks would be to put in bank card details. And there's outrage from people saying, oh, I don't feel safe putting my bank card details into such unwholesome sites, which to me begs the question of whether you can trust their content. But, I mean, would that be the best approach? Because at the moment, you've got a cursory box where you just click and say, I'm over 18. It does need to be something a lot more granular in nature, surely.
Well, I certainly wouldn't recommend you handing around whether it's your credit card details or your passport details or any part of your identity actually to a pornographic website directly. That's why the whole age verification sector has been designed around independent third parties who are very closely regulated by the Information Commissioner and other regulators, including Ofcom, to make sure that only they will use your data, and they only use it briefly in order to check your age. And then after that, all they're saying to the adult websites is yes or no to a question, is this user over 18 or not? And so, I completely agree that what we need is a level playing field. We need to make sure that all these sites are required to have age verification on the same day. So not just picking on the household names, because users will very quickly switch to other sites. We need to have enforcement at scale on D-Day when age verification comes in.
And Brooklyn, I mean, I raised in my introduction there the fact that academic studies in America have shown that 88% of pornographic videos display some sort of violent or abusive treatment of women. Are you aware of that sort of escalating now in the amateur porn industry? And does that concern you?
I mean, the amateur porn industry is a completely different category to what I'm in. And obviously, with the amateur side, it's amateur performers. So there is less regulation there to the actual the high-end industry. And that is an issue. However, I always go back to the same thing. It's about education, and I do totally believe that, and really think that they do. I think they did it in America, but they haven't done it here. Where have people in the industry go into the colleges and that, and actually educate the younger generation on what real life is. What you're watching, it's not real. It really isn't real, and there is a lack of education in it. It's very like, oh, you can't talk about that in England, and it's kind of it's an education lack, and they need to teach people in colleges and that this isn't real. It's fantasy. It's made up. It's not real, and it's different in real life. It's not what you see in the films is not how it is in real life. I think I said before, it's like a Hollywood movie. It's all mask and mirrors, and there is a lack of education on that side, and the only way to get that into people's heads is to educate them on it.
Yeah, now, Ian, we've obviously got here to talk about age verification, but what about video upload verification? Because it strikes me when you've got crimes such as revenge porn, when you've got people who have been trafficked involved in the creation of some of these videos, people who are under duress or being exploited, videos that are violent in nature or present to the viewers something that, frankly, is criminal. Surely there needs to be a filter as well of who's putting the videos up and what's in those videos.
Absolutely. And this is really interesting. It shows that actually a service like MasterCard is far more influential with this industry than any national government. So MasterCard introduced last year some rules that said if you are allowing people to upload, you need to check that, first of all, the uploader is over 18 and that all the people featured in those videos have given consent. And that actually is really behind why 80% of content was taken down by some of these free tube sites. I completely agree with you. We would like to see Visa adopt the same rules as MasterCard, because that is actually what is causing the adult industry to put in phone calls to our members to say, right, now we really need to figure out how we're going to comply with these regulations. And it also shows how the UK government will be able to enforce on these sites, which are mostly based overseas, because they can talk to the payment services providers who will withdraw services from those sites when they're non-compliant with British law.
Brooklyn, Blue, Ian Corby, thank you so much for opening up this debate, and thank you so much for your professional insight into what is a huge social issue. Well, Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's sort of the principle of policing porn and who's accessing it and who's uploading it is a good one. But my question is about the actual bill itself. So the online safety bill extends beyond just pornography. It extends into all areas, social media, etc. I'm worried about creating the principle of digital identification online and what that then extends to, because, you know, there are issues around speech, for example. If everyone has to attach what they say online to their identity in the same way, there are certain repercussions to that. So while I do think it's something that needs to be dealt with in terms of the pornography and in terms of the harms that come from that, we need to be very careful about how we legislate around it and what that could potentially extend into.
Ben, thank you so much. Look, I want to know what you think on this. It's clear what I think, isn't it? I think porn's a public health crisis for pretty much everybody. But email me what you think. gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet us at GBNews. And remember that statistic that after an investigation, 80% of videos, 10 million, had to be removed in a matter of days following an investigation as to whether they were representing abuse, trafficking or child exploitation. That is surely alarming. Let me know what you think.